I've spent years camping in both hard shell and soft shell tents, so that begs the question, which one is really better for overlanding? Well, you've come to the right place because this is my 2004 Subaru Forester that I built for off-road and overlanding adventures. And well, over the last 5 years, we've gone on some pretty epic ones. I've also had both a soft shell and I've recently upgraded to a hard shell rooftop tent for my adventures. So today I'm going to talk you through the pros and cons and help you make the decision of what tent is right for you. Starting off with the soft shell rooftop tent, the tent that got me into overlanding. The biggest thing about these tents is they're much more affordable than your current hard shell rooftop tents, and that's for a few different reasons. First off, they're not going to be as resistant to extreme weather conditions, and that's because of their design. Their whole design is a canvas material that folds into each other. So there's no hard part on it. It has a bag that covers it up. Some of them will have the bottom that kind of zips into itself. Others will have a full cover that you take off and then unfold the tent. And well, this process does take a little bit. It would take me around 7 to 10 minutes to set up my rooftop tent when I was really pushing on it, and it would take even longer if I was taking my time. That said, you can't knock the classic soft shell rooftop tent. These have been around for at least 15 years. There's lots of different companies making them, but they all kind of have similar designs with regards to a canvas shell and a rainfly on top. Whether that rainfly extends past the ladder or just ends up covering the ladder itself, you have a couple different options. They also come in different sizes from 2-person to 6-person. Even the biggest ones are actually quite light because they are pretty much an all canvas material with some aluminum on the bottom. It makes it easy to take it on and off for those who want to be able to take it off when they're not using it. That said, it is a little bit tricky to set up and take down the first couple times, but because of the larger footprint and well, the overall larger tent, you are able to store more of your bedding in it when you're going camping, which is a nice thing. And well, because of the design, it does have a little more space than what you would see in a hard shell tent, which is nice for those camping with multiple people or maybe even a pet. I touched on it a little bit, but some of the downsides of a soft shell tent is, well, of course, the setup and takedown time, it does take quite a bit longer to do. And then on top of that, because it's an all canvas material, any sort of wind you get, it starts flapping like crazy. And this is one of the reasons I did upgrade at the end of the day, is because especially when I'm camping in less favorable conditions, it was really hard to sleep when the tent was flapping around or there was a ton of snow building up. And then for snow, because it's a canvas material, it isn't going to be super insulated, but you can camp in the snow, and I have definitely done it. It does build up on the tent, but it's not a concern as the tents are built for, well, rain and snow. And speaking of rain, the two tents really don't have a difference between the two with regards to rain, because at the end of the day, they're both meant to take on rainy conditions because sometimes you can't avoid it. And speaking of the hard shell tent, let's now talk about the hard shell tent. And well, the biggest thing is the setup time. I can get the tent set up in horrible weather in the middle of the night in like 3 minutes. It takes all of 2 different steps, and it is a lot less fuss than the soft shell tent. And talking about inclement weather, it does have a little bit improved weather capabilities. This first off is because you have one hard side, and if you have a clamshell, you would be able to put it up against the wind like I do and really not have it flap around as much as you would on the soft shell. I've camped in some pretty windy nights, and it's nothing like the soft shell where it keeps me up all night. And then on top of that, in stuff like snow and rain, you can situate yourself a little bit better so that even if it's snowing like crazy or something, that you're really not going to have an issue. And we seen that when we went ahead and camped well in Lake Louise and got 40 centimeters of snow. Other than that, because the top of it is hard shell, it is a little more durable. The soft shell bags that cover it all up are obviously going to react to UV light a little bit worse than, well, a hard shell tent that's built out of aluminum. Just because it is a soft material, it will eventually fade, crack, you'll eventually get failures with the zippers, where with a hard shell, because it is aluminum, it's going to last much longer, and well, you can leave it on the car with really no issues all year round. And you're really going to want to do that because with these hard shell tents, they're going to be heavier than the soft shell. It's really hard to find a hard shell that is the same size with the same camping space or sleeping space and still be the same weight. And that's just, well, because it's got hard material, it obviously is going to be a little bit more heavy. So we see a lot of people leave these tents on year round, but when you do have to move it, you're definitely going to need at least a couple more people. And well, another thing that goes up when you look at a hard shell tent is the price. Pricing on hard shell tents are going to be more expensive, and that's why I started with the soft shell tent, because at the end of the day, it was a lot more affordable than the hard shell. And as I used it more, I eventually dove into the hard shell. But if you're looking at getting into a tent, a soft shell, you can get them for as low as $1,200. And well, a hard shell, even a clam shell, you're going to be looking at least $3,000. I highly recommend, if you're just starting out, see if you can find one in Marketplace, because there's lots of people that are eventually upgrading, like me, that might be selling their soft shell tent for a good price. On top of that, another thing to mention is because the hard shell tent is well hard, it's a lot harder to store a ton of bedding in it. I can still get my sleeping bag, a pillow, and a blanket in there when I close up my hybrid style rooftop tent. But if you are wanting any more than that, unfortunately, it's not going to fit in a hard shell, and you can definitely fit it in the soft shell though. The soft shells just have a little more room to play because, well, they're a lot softer and have a lot of give with the way you latch them down. And then finally, one of the other big reasons people go for hard shells, especially if they're on a lot of adventures, is, well, you have a little more capabilities with setting up your build. With a hard shell, a lot of them now come with roof racks, and the roof racks allow you to mount kayaks, canoes, solar panels, anything you want on the roof of your hard shell tent. Because when you put a soft shell tent on the top of your vehicle, that's going to take up a lot of space, and well, you can't mount stuff on the top of a soft shell. That prevents you from installing anything else on the roof. And with a hard shell, because of the way it's designed, such as mine where it's got T-tracks even on the side, not only can I put a roof rack on it where I can put solar or whatever I need, maybe some max tracks, I can also mount stuff on the side, like my Starlink. We find that for a lot of cases, this is the perfect rooftop tent for many. Not only is it budget friendly, but it's lightweight and gets the job done without breaking the bank. But for people with a little bit deeper pockets and looking to push the limits of both their camping setup and themselves, a hard shell rooftop tent might be the way to go. Not only does it do way better in windy, rainy, and snowy conditions, but it also has a lot more features that you'd be looking for when you're doing longer trips, such as I am. It's really for the overlanders, the people that need really quick setup and, well, not the best conditions. Not only because they like being out there, but they like being pushed a little bit harder. Obviously, when you're spending that amount of time in your rooftop tent, you can justify spending a little more budget for something that you can go ahead and use more often. And that's really why exactly I went from, well, you've seen in this Forester with a soft shell rooftop tent to this hard shell, or, well, more of a hybrid style rooftop tent. I can set this up in like 2 minutes and be sleeping in 4, where my old rooftop tent, it took me fastest 7 minutes. And while that isn't a huge difference, it makes a huge difference when you're moving from campsite to campsite every night and you want to be the quick setting up. For me, after spending so much time in my soft shell rooftop tent, I thought it was time for an upgrade. And I feel like, and for many people, they'll feel the same, as they first start with a soft shell rooftop tent and then get hooked on the overlanding experience and eventually upgrading to something a little more expensive, but something more suited for their needs. So there you go. You can see that the soft shells are really for those people wanting to do the longer, more casual camping trips, and they aren't really camping in harsher conditions. Well, the hard shells are for those hardcore off-roaders and overlanders looking to push their limits of not only themselves, but their vehicle in some amazing places. So with that said, let me know down below what rooftop tent you have or which one you're thinking of getting. And with that being said, don't forget to go ahead and check out, well, Flat 4 Off-Road for all your Venture Subaru needs, including rooftop tents, and the channel memberships for some exclusive perks. And well, I'll be seeing you guys on the next adventure.